Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Positive Wrestling Podcast. I am Stephen Baker, a.k.a. Leon, and I'm getting stared down right now by a very big Papa Bear. I'll leave that at that. But I'm actually joined by the full tag team, and this might suck, but I'm going to give this a shot. It's the opening for them. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Positive Wrestling Podcast proudly brings to you the Dad Team Champions of the World! The Rad Dad RadleyBelmont, the Papa Bear Wade Kruger, the Old Age Outlaws. And if you're not down with that, I'm sure they got two words for you, but I'll say it. You're grounded. Boom! Did it!
Ooh, you were so close.
No!
By the way, I like Dad Team. That's the first time we've ever heard that.
You added something we've never used,
yeah,
and missed something we do.
You missed something crucial though.
Yeah, it's the old age in-laws.
Oh shit!
That's the joke. That's the whole joke.
Oh fuck yeah, it is. All right. Well, anyway, to the normal one. I have the Stepdads here. Rad Dad. I have Papa Bear, and you guys are a beloved tag team from everyone that I've talked to. In fact, Mike Skyros was when he messaged me. He's like, you really should get both Stepdads. I'm like, that's a phenomenal idea, and immediately reached out to you. So
we're only beloved because I don't think Mayor McCheese has seen us wrestle before.
Oh, Mayor fucking McCheese. Yeah, that's a thing in its own vein. Well, guys, seriously, I'm glad you guys actually popped on. Like I said, super convenient. You're on the same screen, so I don't got to look back and forth between you. I can look to the right for the handsome one, and to hell with you, Justin. And
no, that's fair.
I'm sorry. I will start it off like that. But, yeah, man, I really do appreciate you guys being on here. We're just going to shoot the shit, talk some stuff. But I'll just start it off with this. Where did you guys meet? How did the Stepdads come to be?
Okay, so we met through Backyard Wrestling. Ironically, but not in person. That's the weird part. So,
oh, he's already confused.
Yeah. So
prepare to be very confused all the way through our history.
Yeah. So we're gonna give you. This is the whole little. We talk about this a lot, but it's. I think it's super interesting. So I'm gonna talk about it.
He's drinking and smoking already. I'm gonna drink too. I'm gonna drink a little eggnog. How about that?
Is it eggnog if there's no alcohol in it?
It is to me.
Okay. So back in the day, which was a Wednesday, if you hadn't heard, there used to be a forum for Backyard Wrestling that we all posted on. There's been multiple iterations throughout the years. Ours was called the GBYWN, the Global Backyard Wrestling Nation. And we all posted footage of our backyard stuff on here to like critique and like get feedback and all that stuff. And eventually a lot of people realized how close we were together. A lot of us were in the Northeast. There was always groups that were like together.
And we're not talking about like on mattresses and stuff. Like in your previous podcast, they talk about, we did some mattresses, or like
my Fed had a ring. We had a ring in the yard.
An actual ring.
Wow. Okay, so it's real backyard wrestling.
Yeah, it was just wrestling in the backyard.
Like we knew guys who were like pro, so they'd come in and teach us how to run ropes, and like it was just backyard in a ring.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
So we'd all post our stuff. And then a lot of us realized how close we were. We started doing super shows where like all the Northeast would have a show in like Allentown, Pennsylvania, or Cooperstown, New York, or something. And like all of the Midwest would have shows, and all of Florida would do Florida stuff, and all the West Coast would have West Coast shows. And eventually everyone would post their stuff. You got to know everybody. And we had shows that people came from England, people came from Canada, people came from Australia to come to these big shows.
Wow, dude.
Essentially for free, just to hang out for like a week.
Yeah.
And get drunk or whatever.
And everyone would just, it was almost like, think of like a music festival, but with backyard wrestling. Yeah. Like in Cooperstown, we'd all camp out in this big yard and drink all night into the next day, and then wrestle, and then hang out that night, and then wrestle the next day.
Like a bunch of bikers would show up and just rev their engines while we wrestled.
That's
like
amazing.
British people.
I would want to do that now. Never mind fucking.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. We're trying to get we're actually trying to get a reunion together right now. So like hopefully we'll be able to do that, and there'll be footage one day.
And it'll be all like 90% pros now.
Yeah.
Because everyone's a pro now.
Now everyone who did it is pro.
Yeah.
Like guys who posted on this forum is like the guys at Freelance in Chicago.
Yeah.
Zane.
Alex Zane.
Yeah,
who
Alex
just got
Zane, who just
signed.
got signed.
I used to team with Sonny Kiss.
I was gonna say Sonny. I remember that. I remember the
Yeah.
Super.
You know.
Will Ospreay told us our ring was a piece of shit and he wouldn't come.
But I chain wrestled one of his best friends, so I got to chain a legitimately British trained wrestler.
So like, yeah, Dan Makabe, guys from all over the place. Just we had a whole big crew.
Fred Yehai called me out once. Match didn't happen, but it was cool.
Yeah. So we met through the forum, and then eventually there was a big super show, and he flew out from Vegas for the show. But before that, we had set up a whole feud. I was out in Vegas, and we hung out. Only knowing each other through a forum.
That's awesome.
We hung out in Vegas. We filmed like a year's worth of promos. That started with us being co-hosts of a wrestling podcast and turned into us getting angry at each other, breaking up, and then we had the match, and we just aired them like once a week for like 6 months.
So we were on the Las Vegas Strip, and every time we go to a different part of a casino, we would film another intro for our show, as if time had passed over like 6 months.
Yeah.
And by the end, we'd absolutely hate each other. And then like the way we planned it, like 2 weeks later, we had the actual match.
Yeah.
That's wicked cool. Honestly, like that's a really cool way to meet your tag team partner.
Yeah.
So but the funny thing is, in the yard, we were always rivals.
Yes.
Like I probably wrestled Red at least as like in the top 3 of people I wrestled. He had a faction, I had a faction, I had a Stepdads faction that didn't have him.
Even though I always wanted to be in the Stepdads, that was the joke.
But we didn't do actual dad stuff. We were called the Stepdads because we were just heels, and we were called the Stepdads because we beat you and you hate us. So
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So I had a faction, and he had a faction called the Radical Movement, and we feuded a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But then we both went pro. Everyone stopped yarding. Some of them went pro eventually, but we were like, let's keep it going.
Yeah, man. That's so cool. So you guys have always been in a tag team then since you've been pro?
Yes.
He was in a
different tag team.
Yeah, I started a little earlier, maybe like 10 months earlier.
Yes.
Okay. I was in a different tag team with another guy I knew from the yard days who he had gone pro way earlier than me.
Yeah.
We worked together for a little while, and then when he got pro, we moved in together, different parts of the house. Dude. So I was like, we should be like teaming and going to the same places and stuff.
And we both didn't like what we were doing at the time.
Yeah.
Like we both had characters that didn't fit us.
Right.
So we were like, well, let's workshop this Stepdads thing, which we did at Warriors at one of their at their tapings that they did.
Like Jake Gomez Warriors, right? Like
yes.
In fact, our second match ever as the Stepdads was against Jake and Mr. Grimm.
Oh no!
And that was about 2 hours after our first Stepdads match.
Yeah, and that was our first match had happened earlier that day.
Dude, Mr. Grimm hits like a ton of bricks, so I can imagine.
His splash in the corner is the hardest thing I've ever taken.
They hurt so bad.
I still think it's the biggest, the most painful thing I've ever experienced in wrestling. You could have pinned me, and I would have bought it.
If he put me in the corner and just machine gun chopped me, I think I'd prefer it to the splash in the corner.
I actually wholeheartedly agree. I think I've had 3 matches with Grimm, and every time he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go splash." I'm like, "No, I'm not a smart there, but man."
I didn't take the step out thinking it was. I was like, oh, it's not gonna be that big. Most people come in and just hug it, and so I was like, I'm not gonna take the step out for a splash. And then he comes in, and I was like, I should have taken the step out.
Yep.
That was I love that guy to death, though. We practically wrestled on the fly too.
Yeah, he hit me with the splash, and I forgot the next 3 spots.
Now, Grimm, I remember, especially in my lesser, I'm not in shape, but when I was in less shape, I should say, still a little more round and more green, I wrestled him in our first match that we had. I got blown up about 12 minutes through because we were the main, and I think you guys were there. It was one of the Nova shows, and but I was like, all right, we got to go home. He's like, absolutely not. And I'm like, no.
Well, we've seen a match of his where the guy he was wrestling some guy.
It was at Nova. It was for their.
It was at Nova, but in the old venue.
Their tournament cup thing.
Yeah, and
the Zarba Cup.
We watched the match, and you could see he hits the guy with the black hole slam, and the guy goes down, and he goes, get up, and you could hear the guy on the ground go, no. and then he just pins him. No more moves. The match is just over.
And that's the finals of the Zarba Cup.
That was-
the first ever Zarba Cup.
Oh my god.
It's
dude.
the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That's amazing.
I mean,
guys,
that might be the best way to put someone over accidentally I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
actually, you know what? Still on the Mr. Grimm topic, when I ended up winning the Apex title from him, it wasn't supposed to happen. Well, it was, but Jose and him and people in the back were all shooting on me. I actually didn't know. I thought it was legit, like, oh, damn, Mr. Grimm's going to look like a monster because he's kicking out of a chair shot and my finish. Uh-oh. So, like, I got the whole thing called, and we're in the ring. And I'll never forget it because it was my first title I ever really won. And we're in the ring. He's like, yeah, just hit the pedigree. I'll kick out. We get up. I'll give you the freaking, the contract, whatever. I'm like, oh, great. I'm getting tombstone. So that's one thing. But then the second thing, so I'm on the ground. I got him at their pedigree. I hear 1, 2, and he just says, congratulations, bitch, and stays down.
What a guy.
Oh, dude.
I have a story just like that. I think it was my second pro match ever. I wrestled
The promoter of the company.
An older gentleman, but he'll have that like old fashioned 80s match where he just he in the turnbuckle a couple times and things like that.
Work the corner.
So,
yep.
Yeah, and we're just gonna go on the fly, kid. We'll figure it out as we go. But the one thing he told me was the finish was gonna be just a normal like power slam kind of deal.
Okay.
So he's like, work, and so I'm doing stuff, and he gets on the ground. He's like, work my leg, kid, just out loud. I'm like, okay. I'm just scared to death. So I'm working his leg. I'm doing stuff, blah, blah, blah. He grabs me for his finish and just decides to fall backwards and sell the leg. And as I'm on top of him, he just smiles at me as I win the match. And I like for a second, I'm like, okay, I have to do something now. And it's my second match and I'm a heel. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm shocked. Like, I did it. Woo, I did it.
Yeah.
And I get to the back and they're like, why did you look so confused when you won? That was weird. And I'm like, because I was.
It was a legitimate, actual shock. Yeah, I mean, dude, I remember, like, talking about it because I assumed that was the first time since your second match you were ever shot on in that way. Same thing with the Grimm thing. It was my first time ever being shot on, and I'm like, okay. Like, so you take that, like, 2 seconds and you just accept it. But, man, yeah, dude, I honestly, sticking to the Mr. Grimm and getting away from that for a second, I love that guy. He's been nothing but kind. He's
Oh yeah. Every time he sees us, he's like, look, it's the Granddads.
Granddads.
And I'm not gonna correct him because why would I?
Nope.
Yeah, he does the best things. Like we were riding. It was me, him, and Paul. We were riding together to a show, and he just shit on Paul the whole time. The whole time. Like I felt kind of bad because I'm like, man, this poor kid. But like,
we love Grimm. I would like.
He got us in the Nova, our first live match, technically.
Yeah, we had the match we had with him at Warriors was like iffy, but it was our second match. He saw that there was potential. He was the one who vouched for us at Nova and got us out there on the road for the first time. Really,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, he's one of those guys who I feel like super underrated and deserves a lot more than he gets.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
The first match we ever saw him in was against Bear Bronson, and he was doing 450s and shit.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, you know what? Moving on, you're talking about Nova. You guys, I'm not sure, like, really on your history of Nova. Like, I know it's been, some of those crowds are not pretty, but like, you still get out there, you get your reps in. Who was your like best tag team you wrestled there? That like
we only wrestled one.
Was it only one?
Yeah.
We wrestled the same team every time we were there.
Oh, who?
Except the one time we wrestled each other.
Yeah. Whoever we were supposed to wrestle didn't show up that day, so we wrestled each other instead.
We wrestled Harris Country Club every time we were there.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, never mind.
The first time we were there, we wrestled Harris Country Club, and we were the faces, and we got booed the whole time, and the crowd hated us. And a kid told, I went to high five a kid, and he said, "Get away from me, you fucking cuck." That was the first time. The second time we wrestled Harris Country Club, and the finish was he went for the hot tag, and I got pulled off the ropes by a mystery man who was never seen again, and I didn't make the hot tag, and the match just ended.
And I got pinned. There was never a hot tag.
And then the blow off was supposed to be a tag team last man standing match, which never happened because they didn't show up, and we wrestled each other, and the entire time, what's his name? He missed every spot. We were told we had 12 minutes to do the match. At 4, we got this. And I took a crucifix driver in the match, at which point the cameraman and promoter proceeded to film the ceiling. and we never went back again.
So there's no footage. But the good thing about it is that when we wrestle each other, we had such a we enjoyed the match, and the crowd. That was the one time the crowd got behind us there, which it's like 12 people. I don't know if they were coming in expecting WrestleMania. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of fun having that match. So we asked other companies like Warriors Wrestling to book us against each other so we could do it again.
Yeah.
And we just that became like a thing we did in a couple different companies where we just
we
wrestle
did,
each other.
Yeah, we did that match at a taping for Warriors and a taping for GSW, and it got us foot in the door at a couple places.
Yeah, later on for New York Championship Wrestling
because we did it at GSW Grand Slam in Scranton, and Jake was there, and Jake was like, we didn't have an opponent next time we went to Warriors for a taping, and he was like, oh, why don't you guys just wrestle each other, do that murder fest you guys did?
He called it a murder fest.
Well, you know, I was talking to Bronson about that. You can always hit hardest when you're with your friends. That's just that's how it always goes. You guys really started to take, like, when this quarantine was like starting up, you guys were actually like getting some really good traction, it seems like, over at like NYCW. You guys definitely had a TIW run, and they were like all behind you guys and shit like that. Like
600-day title reign, my friend.
I know. Like, the question is really, what changed that, like, you guys, because you guys really started, like, when I first met you, I remember it was at a House of Brick show, and I remember saying, like, I was like, man, I love these dudes. I never met you, and I'm like, I love that they're on this card. I love the idea of the Stepdads, and I remember talking to you, and I remember you, Rad, you were kind of like, oh, you're King Leon, I mean, you know who you are. I'm like, stop it. Like, I was kind of
I already saw your stuff because
he researches every place we go before we go.
We were going, since it was our first time at House of Bricks, I already watched a bunch of stuff. You were already there.
Not other people do that, I feel like.
Maybe.
Just watch your opponent so you know moves, watch the company so you see how things go. It gives you an advantage when you get there.
I did that with the Test of Strength, too, when we got hired there. Even though there was that lengthy part during quarantine, I watched every Test of Strength show that they ever aired on YouTube. I wanted to know who was there, you know?
Yeah, what's the tag division like? What do they do?
Yeah, and that's fair. You definitely need to, like, I'm not good at researching. Like, if I know I'm wrestling someone that I'm, like, not really, so to say, excited to wrestle, but kind of like, okay, let's really see what's up. I'll look into it a little bit. Like, I mean, Grimm, was one of them. But it depends. You know what I mean? Like, if I know I'm going in on, like, a Thursday for XWA, like normal, I'll just be like, all right, we got probably 7 to 10. I'll figure it out when we get there. You know, this is what it is.
Right.
But what I was basically trying to ask is, like, you guys, like, refined yourselves so heavily. I feel like you guys are so much more cohesive now, and generally for the last year and a half. How did it come about that way? Was it like
it's really just getting the work in. I mean, when you first saw us, we were less than a year in as a team. So, like,
we were all character work.
We were using character work to hide our greenness.
A man after my own heart, same.
So now we're using character work to accentuate our strengths. That's the difference.
That's smart.
It's like we've kind of figured out what we're good at, and like we keep adding stuff, and like we come into a match where it's like we know if things are kind of in the planning stages feeling weird, we know we have spots, we have go-to spots. We didn't have go-to spots before where it's like we have ideas to go to. We have people come up to us and they're like, we saw you do that spot. Could we do that today? Like that, it just makes it easier, and there's more ease than when you're in the ring trying to remember everything. When you have those like go-tos, that's easy stuff now. Yeah. Everything else is the hard stuff.
And we were much heavier into comedy, obviously, back then. So since then, like, I don't know if we've definitely gotten better, but we've also gotten more comfortable doing like just straight up wrestling match. Like with the Main State Posse, almost always it's just straight up wrestling match. Yep. We're doing crazy, like, not crazy flips, but we're, you know, chain wrestling, that kind of stuff. He's doing strike exchanges. We're throwing finishers around. Yep. And then when we have a different team, like we wrestled the Dignified at TIW, that was more of like a Southern classic, we'll figure it out in the ring kind of match. Yeah. And I love that kind of style. He loves that indie-rific craziness style. So we kind of have both sides of the map.
Yeah. I mean, I remember we had it's actually, truth be told, my favorite match that I had at TIW. I think I had like 4 or 5, but the 6-man tag that we had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was you guys, Insanely Rude, and me and Scotty Arrow, I believe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what? I walked into that day being like, why the hell am I in this match? You know, like, because like, especially being a singles guy, I'm like, what is going on? But I'm like, all right, well, do my job, get in. But like, I tell you, man, that had like so much a good mix of all the things I wanted in a match.
You can ask him. I love a good multi-man.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the best thing about a multi-man is because there's so many people, you can have nonstop high points in a match.
Oh yeah.
Because like someone can hit a move and then you get like a 5-minute break, like a 3-minute break. So like it's way easier to remember everything, and it's way easier to do a bunch of cool stuff because no one's getting blown in an 8-man or a 6-man. It's like it's all in and out.
Yeah.
6-man scrambles are like the easiest match in the world. Do all your craziest shit
all day,
like 4 of them, 4 crazy things, and just remember what happens before and after, and that's it. That's all you gotta do.
As long as
waterfall.
Yeah, and as long as like I always think of a multi-man as like has layers, levels, it gets more intense, it gets bigger and bigger, bigger. That match we had, I felt like it was definitely like that. By the time you were like swinging people around over and over again, like we were there, we were at that level, and it just kept going.
Yeah, and we had a lot of like fun. We had the spank train.
Mm-hmm.
Spank train was awesome.
Yeah,
we haven't done that since. That's another one we gotta bring back one day.
Yeah, I mean everyone lost it when I dropped you on your head.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. So I've never taken a move like that, and I trusted you to put me up, and I'm like, how the fuck do I hit this? I'm like, what do I do? I'm like,
grab on, baby.
Hope I don't die. Like, that's pretty much, yeah. So I didn't know that. I'm like, when you were like, yeah, I'll get you up. I didn't think about after you get me up. So
yeah.
I'm just kind of like,
it's like I always tell people, it's like the only thing you're going to bump is your stomach on my shoulder.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because when you hit it, I remember watching the video back, and they got like
your head, you go like
the perfect angle where I was like, oh man. And I was like, well, it looked like I died, so I guess that's a fucking plus. But oh man, I think that my favorite thing in that whole match, and I still like, believe it or not, I will show a girl this match. Like this match, I've shown a girl. Just be like, she's like, oh, you
Really?
wrestled?
that's our specialty, man. I can't tell you how many times we show up at a show, and we just had this happen recently. We wrestled at Invictus out here in Jersey, and I was talking to Monster Mac after the show, and Mac was like, oh, my girlfriend doesn't give a shit about wrestling. She's been to so many shows now. She loved your match. Like, we are the girlfriends and like tag-alongs favorite match. Everyone who gets dragged to wrestling against their will, we're the highlight. I swear to God.
It's weird, but
it's funny because the two things that I will make sure to show them in that match is the spank train, which I obviously get some looks like, so this is wrestling, and then I show them the black hole party, and they're like, oh, that's cool. But like, my favorite part of that whole match is going into it was black holing you, Mr. Papa Bear, because I'm like looking at you, I'm like, I hope I can fucking do this. And you're like running at me. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, this is going to either really suck or hopefully we at least pull it off. But yeah, no, I just remember looking back and be like, I showed Paul a couple weeks ago, so we rewatched it, and he was like, he's like, man, that was a close one, because you were like kind of halfway down, and I'm like,
yeah.
It fucking worked. I'm like, oh,
I basically just ran out my legs from underneath myself.
Yeah, that was the right thing to do. But oh man, dude, that was such a good time. Do you guys have like a tag team that you always look forward to like wrestling? Is there like anyone specifically you can think of?
there's a couple.
Main State for sure.
Yeah,
love wrestling Main State.
Every time, like it was like instant chemistry the first time we wrestled, and ever since then, it's like every one of them seems really solid.
Insanely rude. Love wrestling. Our last match against them was awesome. Crowd was not into it. Don't care. We'll do it again somewhere else.
Right.
And those got better every time too.
Yeah. Ugly Ducklings.
Oh God, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
love wrestling the Ducks. They're so easy to work.
They kill so
they're easy to work once the match is planned. Before the match, Rob's energy is so out of control.
I've seen him call a match or two. I'm aware.
Yeah. Whereas like Lance is just like whatever.
Yeah. We were supposed to have what is it, 12 to 14? We went 31.
Yeah. we went I think 7.
Don't worry, one match of the year, so
we went 7 before the stuff we planned even started.
Yeah. He goes, oh, we'll go out there, we'll play around, and then we'll do a little chaining. I'm like, all right, cool.
7-minute dance off.
We end up doing a dance off, and 7 minutes in, oh, I guess we'll start chaining now.
And Rob just looks at the promoter and just goes, we're going over.
And he gives a thumbs up, and we're off to the races.
Where was that? Where was that?
NYCW.
Okay. Yeah, dude, that's, oh my God. I love the Ducklings because like I swear every time like it just seems like they all die. They really do.
Oh, yeah.
They kill themselves. Like,
Oh yeah. Lance
I
took
don't understand how the bumps they take don't kill them sometimes, honest to God, but man, it's fucking impressive.
Yeah, those would be my top 3 that we've wrestled multiple times. There's a lot of teams I'd like to wrestle again, or like even just for the first time.
Like,
Especially teams we wrestled early on, like Middlesex Express, for example. We wrestled. That was like our 6th match as a team ever.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And we could do so much more with them.
Friggin'
American Murder Society.
We wrestled them super. It was like their 2nd match as a team, and one of our first
Yeah,
matches.
they didn't have a name yet. They didn't have a team name yet. So
Alex and Steve, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun. Like, I want to wrestle Waves and Curls at some point.
Yeah. Their charisma is real.
Yeah. One of my dream matches was Whiskey Dick up in Limitless.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Top Shelf Troy Nelson and Dick Justice.
Yep.
There's
when things quiet down, we might wrestle Slick Wagner Brown and Jay Freddy.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That'd be
That would be
cool.
really cool. Yeah, I feel like you guys have a really versatile like style, which you were talking about, because you enjoy the old school, you enjoy the new school, but
Yep.
the cool thing about it is even though you guys have those differing things, it's obvious that you're a cohesive unit. Like, I couldn't truthfully see you guys as singles people right now. Like, you are what you are. You are the Stepdads. Like, and one thing I really like too, and it kind of reminds me of myself and Paul, is the fact, because now that I know you live together, I'm sure that all the ideas that must bounce off each other, because I know me and Paul do it, is probably like, hey, I have an idea, blah blah blah. Or you get a freaking call or one of these. Or
it's usually a Facebook message. It'll just be like, hey, look at this spot. And I'll be like, what if we did this, but like threw Spanx in here, or threw this in here, or you did the knee and I did this.
Or we'll be watching like a Chikara DVD from a long time ago, and we're just like, oh, see that? If we do this, it'll be completely different. So we're not completely ripping them off.
Right.
That was how we came up with our like big tag finisher, which is the Parent Trap, where he hits. I hold the guy in the waist lock, and he hits the flying knee, and I swing him into the driver. It was just like we were watching, I think, Chikara, and I was like, oh, that's an easy setup.
Oh yeah, no, dude. Honestly, I actually really like that. I remember I saw that. I think the first time I actually saw it was at Test of Strength when you guys, the most recent one, actually, the one in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And I was watching the match, and I saw you. You have a vicious knee, by the way.
Yeah, I do.
You have a vicious knee.
So that knee was born out of months of quarantine. So we got in the ring, and he was like, "I'm gonna kill this fucking guy."
First of all, so back in the backyard days, I used to do a rebound flying knee.
Okay.
But I would do it inside the ring, like Dean Ambrose style. I would do it outside the ring on low rise rings.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So I was doing flying knees a ton, but I was much heavier.
Right.
I was like 50 pounds heavier or something like that. So when I did it as the Stepdads, it was just kind of like, oh, maybe I'll do it for like a double down during the heat or something. Like, it wasn't crazy. I got like a couple of cool pictures. It was like a picture move. Oh, it's a cool strike picture or whatever.
Yeah.
When I lost all that weight and I'm like, working on my legs and stuff, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen today, because I went to test the strength, and outside of doing some chaining in the ring, I had not really been in the ring. So I was like, I'm not sure if I can jump higher, if I'm going to lift more. I don't know.
Oh, you can.
I did that first one, and I was like, I'm going to give everything, because it's been like 6 months. I need to, you know what I mean?
I know
you get
exactly
6 months of pent-up frustration.
I cannot wait for my first one back at this.
Yeah, it's like I like that guy across the ring. He's been nice to me all day. I must murder him. It's my goal in life to take him out.
Oh,
so I ran and I just swung and I murdered him, and he luckily he loved it too.
Yeah.
And then in our next match to test his strength, I gave somebody a sidewinder. And usually I grab the guy and I just kind of go back with it, like almost like a backdrop.
Yeah.
I grabbed him and just threw his ass. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that too now.
Dude, that's so important though. It's like you got to look legit. And I will admit, like, when I saw that knee, I was like, dude, Like, what the fuck did he do to you to make that knee have to happen? And I mean that. Like, and this is coming from a worker. I really thought you fucking killed the guy. I was like, well, that's that for him.
Luckily, I got really good placement.
And then that was immediately followed up with me doing my big punch into the driver.
Yeah.
So that kid just had a bad day. Is basically what.
Yeah. It was a good time. And we had our new gear, so we had to look good, man. You know.
Oh yeah, the new gear is really good. What was that?
The Outsiders.
No gimmick gear, right? No gimmick gear did that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. No gimmick gear. I recommend it to everybody.
So awesome. Like we literally went into her workshop and she like measured us and everything.
Wow.
She's in Brooklyn, or in New York, so like we just took the ride out.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's so cool. What was I about to say? That's right. Speaking of test of strength, you guys had quite the road to get there. With quarantine. Yeah, I know. I have to bring it up, but what happened with all, like, tell me the road to finally actually get into test of strength, because I saw the promos and I loved the promo idea. Like, we could have been here then, but we weren't, and I forget what they were. But
okay, I'll start. So apparently, I don't know exactly why Slick Wagner Brown brought us in. I think it was a mix of multiple things. Because Bobby Ocean was there the night we wrestled the Ugly Ducklings.
Yep.
And he told us later how, like, oh, I remember you guys used to be comedy guys, and I saw this match with the Ducklings, and it was like ridiculous. And so I think he might have mentioned it to Wagner. I know for a fact High Voltage Omar mentioned it to Wagner, which what a great guy. I know he was your first guest and everything. I love him to death. What a great guy,
Omar's okay.
Yeah. He's really, really, really okay. So but yeah, so I don't know where it was exactly. I messaged them personally because at the beginning of the year I wanted us to expand more. I had so many hopes for it this year, man.
We had way more stuff lined up too that just didn't happen. It's a shame.
We were supposed to debut at places that don't exist anymore. I'll say that.
Dude,
much. But
yeah, I mean,
so
truth be told,
so we finally got everything situated. April 26th, we're supposed to debut.
Right.
Awesome, because that's my birthday. And I've never wrestled. I don't think I've ever wrestled a birthday match.
Okay.
So I thought it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to be a triple threat tag with the Nightcrawlers and Cold Cash. So that show gets canceled, obviously. A couple months go by. They go, okay, we're gonna finally have the show in August.
Yep.
And with still the same match against Cold Cash and Nightcrawlers.
Mm-hmm.
A week before the show, all right. Picture this in your head, because it's a lot. I'm in a GCW ring, a Game Changer Wrestling ring, in the middle of 911's backyard, his barn, like his farm. So the Game Changer Wrestling ring is at his farm, and I'm there, and I'm chain wrestling with like various guys from that area.
We're working out the rust.
We're working
Getting
out
some
the
ring
rust.
time.
And I'm in the sun all day. I didn't bring any water, nothing like that. So I get ridiculously dehydrated, and I don't even realize it. So at the end of the day, we're driving home. He's driving, and I'm like, I am really cold, and it is blazing hot outside. That is the weirdest feeling. I've never had a feeling like that before.
Okay.
And it turns out I had some sort of like dehydration, like extreme dehydration.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So what happens is the saliva on the bottom of my neck, because this is where your saliva gland is. It's like right behind your jaw.
Yeah.
I did not know all this until this year, but it actually crystallized. It got so hot in my body, and there's so little water that the saliva itself crystallized just enough to block the entrance where your saliva goes in your tongue and your mouth and all that.
Yeah, the glands.
The glands. So it started to swell up. And at first I thought maybe it was just like I got hit there or something. I don't know.
Or you had a tooth infection or even
anything. I had a tooth infection because I had to get a tooth taken out anyway. The next thing I know, days are going by, it's getting bigger, and it's almost getting like golf ball size, like half a golf ball's there. And it's freaking out my girlfriend. It's freaking out, coworkers. And one morning, it was the next Saturday, so the day before test of strength, I wake up and I can't breathe.
Oh my God.
And I wake up in like early morning, and I'm like, I cannot breathe very well at all, and I couldn't drink anything, couldn't eat anything. I immediately go to emergency room kind of deal. They say, oh, you need to. They kind of explain what's going on.
Antibiotics.
So I end up going to a dentist who has surgery by removing my back teeth. They had to remove my back teeth in order to get down there and pretty much just like jar everything loose.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I lost a tooth because of that, and it took over a week to drain. And during this whole time, I'm like messaging whoever's in charge of the test of strength account. I'm like, I might be there. I can not be there if you want, but I could try to be there. And I think it was Slick Wagner, whoever it was. They're like, just don't come. Like, don't. We understand, wrestlers want to wrestle. Just don't come, okay? So I was like, okay, all right.
My God, dude.
Yeah. So we got replaced in the triple threat match. I had to recover. It took about 2 weeks. It sounds like it's like a super severe thing, because if it went upward, it could have like gave me like a brain hemorrhage or something. But it went down. But like 2 weeks later, I was fine again. And then they were like, okay, well, the triple threat match happened with other people. So now we're gonna have you in a 4-way tag, which is the one you saw where I murdered. I had to murder.
You had to murder.
Because as far as I knew, this was just extra innings of my life anyway. I might as well take someone with me.
Oh my.
But yeah. So if we got there, I don't think we could have asked for a better debut unless we were just coming in and winning the titles or something. Like.
Oh, you guys had like a whole crowd section. You had the stepdad section and everything. You guys,
yeah,
insane.
That was I don't know if that was the first for us, but that kind of like we're gonna have signs. We're gonna be the stepdad squad, and we're gonna talk about it on Twitter every day. That was definitely a first.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
From wrestling at Nova with 8 fans to having a 10-fan cheering section just for us was a crazy jump.
I love showing that to coworkers who don't understand wrestling at all.
Yeah.
And all I show them is my entrance and how I come out and I point, and you don't see what I'm pointing at. And as the camera turns, I am in front of like 10 people with signs that say Stepdads, and I'm just like, yeah, doing like my best Hogan. And they're like, oh, okay, you don't suck.
Oh man, yeah. I remember going out and seeing that, and I was like, you know what? Good for these guys. They got a little fucking crew with them today.
Oh, yeah.
It's weird. We had an interesting past, like, because around this time last year, I missed a couple shows. I had to take some time off because I had an infection under my arm. So I don't do this anymore. I don't shave my armpits anymore because I shaved and I had an ingrown hair, and I was doing stuff outside, it opened, like, under my shirt,
yep,
and got infected. And I thought it was just, like, a bad ingrown hair that was gonna, like, turn into a whitehead, either, like, get hard and then go away, or open and whatever.
Yeah.
It ended up it just kept getting worse and kept getting worse. We wrestled at a show at Backbreakers out in
you want me to set it up for you?
Yeah. So
all right, I'll set it up and you can finish. So we were supposed to be a part of the Backbreakers Entertainment Tag Team Tournament.
Okay.
They're finally debuting tag team titles, and they wanted us there. The previous month we were practically like Hulk Hogan.
We debuted and we're the most over people on the show.
Like they put us in a perfect scenario for us to get over. It was great. So we were like, we got to keep this rolling.
Yeah, we're supposed to wrestle Trajan
Horn,
the chubby daddy, and friggin'
Evers and
Andrew Evers.
Yep.
Who we love, and we'd never wrestled him. We were like, this is gonna be a fun match, but like the whole day, I'm like, dude, I don't feel good. Like, I have this thing under my arm. It's like bleeding.
And who was going to be there?
Oh yeah.
So
to me, go
ahead. This is your story.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna tell them we can't make it, and then I get a message from Brad, who is he got us in over there. He's running the tag division, and he's like, oh, one of your favorite people is gonna be there at the show, and he shows me a message, and it says like. It's like, oh, you should come to the show, and the person says, well, who's going to be there? And he runs down the list and he's like, oh, and the Stepdads are wrestling. And the person was like, oh, why didn't you just tell me that? You could have saved the rest of the list. It's Vin Gerard Derling, the guy who runs Beyond now and IWTV. So I was like, well, now I can't not go.
Like, we gotta go for the guy that runs Beyond, because
and not just that, I'm a huge mark for him when he was in Chikara. Like, so I was like, I gotta go now. I wrestled with a shirt on, with my fishing shirt on, because I was like, I'm not gonna lock up with someone because I had blood, coming out, we had the match.
Yeah, luckily it didn't look weird because we just put like dad stuff on.
Yeah, match went great.
Match was awesome.
We get to the back. I'm like sitting down. I have the chills. I'm sweating and have the chills. And on the way home, I pass out. I'm out in the car. I slept like the whole way home.
Before you left, you ran into him, didn't you?
Oh yeah, ran into friggin' Gerard, and he's like, "Oh, I got here late. I missed the match."
Dude.
So then I go home, wake up when we pull in front of the house, shaking. Like when you get the chills and you're like shaking.
Yeah.
And you're like, you get under a blanket, it doesn't matter. I walked in the house, I take a hot shower, still have the chills. Next day, I'm like, I gotta go get this looked at. I go to a walk-in clinic. They're like, you gotta go to the hospital. I get to the hospital, immediate IV. They had to drain the thing. I can't watch Dr. Pimple Popper videos anymore because I lived it and it hurts so bad. Yeah, so that was how I spent my Halloween. Was that would have been like right around the end of November or end of October.
Yep.
So, yeah,
it was
we both had some fun times in the past.
I was gonna say, you guys clearly have shit fucking luck right now, like for this year. I mean, I understand this year sucked, but like that's like bad.
Yeah.
Like that's like both possible deaths. Like that's not.
That's why we were so ready for this year, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was how I closed out 2019.
Well, I mean, here's to fucking hope, and at least 2021 is going to be a little better at this point, because God knows.
It can't be worse, dude.
Do not say that out loud. Like, do not, because I don't know if that's true, and I don't want to think about it. So, but, all right, look, I got 2 more questions for you. This one I really, really wanted to ask you, because I'm really curious as to, like, pick your brain to get a little more personal with it.
Ooh.
Yeah. What was you guys' influence to like get into wrestling? Like, who did you have that like really was like, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do.
I'll go
David
first.
Arquette.
He's not joking.
No.
So for me, it's like I watched a lot of wrestling when I was younger, but I never ever thought about doing it for like the longest time. Like when I was just watching like WWF and WCW was not ever a thought even in my mind. Cause like it was all huge musclehead guys. I've always been a big kid. Like I was always bigger. I started going to indie shows in high school, like 06, 07, like 17 years old. Started going to Jersey All Pro shows, ROH shows. And I was like, this is awesome. Got more involved, started doing photography for, I did ringside photography for Jersey All Pro, a little bit for Chikara, a little bit for Sammy Callahan's Fed down in South Jersey. So I was doing ringside stuff for a while, got to know a lot of the wrestlers.
Later on, we got to wrestle in that ring.
Yeah, weirdly. So that got me more involved. I met friends from doing those shows that we started backyarding, and that got me into the yarding thing. And they started like a year earlier than me, and I was like, maybe I could do this. You know, I feel like I have the mind for it at least, even if I'm a big out of shape guy. Started doing that, started doing yard stuff, eventually got comfortable landing on my head and popping my friends and
killing me.
I was always like 300 plus pounds taking German suplexes on my head from like right from the beginning. Because how else are you going to pop your friends? They've seen everything. You got to do stupid shit.
Good point.
Especially when you wrestle in the yard with like Zane. Like
there's that mindset that you're taking over right now. You've got to land on your head. You got to go. It's all about the pop. It's all for the pop.
Yeah.
It was definitely a different mindset for sure.
And then that got like after years of doing that, I was like, I feel like I'm finally getting good at this. Let's give it a shot. And I had seen guys who could do it, who were bigger, and I was like, I could do that. I could do some comedy shit, and I could land on my head, and I could definitely pop some people. Even if it's just like in squash matches or whatever. Like even if it's just me getting killed, they'll be like, "Oh, did you see that fat guy land on his head? That was fucking crazy."
But just to show how crazy is, when we wrestled Mr. Grimm, the first thing Justin asks is, "Can I take the 450?"
Yeah.
No. Like, why would you want no? Like, I try to call something different. I'm like, can I move the 450 and we'll go from there?
Ironically enough, that's kind of what Grimm said. He was like, no. Why would you want that?
Oh my God, dude.
That's me, man. Dude, I'd rather take a German suplex bump than take a flat face bump any day of the week.
What? Are you high? Like, oh my God. Yeah, you're definitely a different kind of person.
When we were in the yard, by the end of my yarding days, I was taking double underhook pile drivers and taking crazy.
I've seen him take Canadian destroyers.
Yeah.
Emerald Fusion.
They're just not clean. That's why I don't do it, bro. But I love taking stupid nonsense like that.
I'm gonna keep that in mind if I ever see you in the ring again. We'll have some words.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll die. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
But yeah, that was how I got into it. Like, it was really Chikara was really my influence of like the comedy side of stuff, the creativity side of stuff.
Absolutely.
And I saw like they had Crossbones was wrestling there at that time.
Yeah.
And Shane Storm, and Shane Storm was a chubby guy, and Crossbones was a fat guy who was honestly pretty fucking terrible. If I'm being honest, like. When I saw him, he was really good for a while, and then I don't know what happened.
No hate.
I loved it. It was part of my favorite faction in the whole company. But like, he was terrible. But he was like, but people popped for it, and I was like, I could do some shit, man. So that was really my like influence was Chikara and like early like mid 2000s indie stuff, ROH, because every ROH match was fucking nuts at that time.
Yeah. I mean, recently, I don't know if you guys saw or not, but I had John Walters on, and he was a pure champion. He was
dude, I fucking love John Walters.
I'm so glad he's back now.
You should go back and watch. It was like a week and a half ago. I did a podcast with him.
Dude, his shit in the Embassy was so fucking good. I love the Embassy. Jimmy Rave is low-key one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. That kills me. What happened to him fucking sucks. That's like the...
Yeah, you can't. You wouldn't wish that shit on anybody, whether it be professional or personal. Dude, that's terrible, dude.
It kills me that like people are always like, "Oh, who are your favorite wrestlers?" And I'm like, "Oh, I love Vince Gerard and Jimmy Rave," and they're like, "You like the weirdest heel guys?" And I'm like, "They were fucking awesome. If you were there at the time, they fucking ruled." Mm-hmm. I've never seen anyone get more heat at a live show than Jimmy Rave.
I can imagine. I mean, no, what I was saying though is like, you know, you're talking about guys like from like John Walters, like being the pure champion, and like especially now they're bringing back the pure stuff, and I love that.
Yeah.
I think
that era is like even the guys who were the opener and the dark match were incredible.
Yeah.
Because WWE wasn't rating talent yet. So these guys had so long to grow on the indies that like even to get like
your AJ Styles, your Samoa Joes, your Daniel Bryans, they all just got to freaking refine themselves year after year.
You had guys who it was like Irish Airborne, they're fucking scrubs. Like at the time, that was like people were like, oh, they're the fucking curtain jerkers, or Delirious. Oh, he's a curtain jerker.
Okay.
At the time,
no, I know.
It's like all the JPW guys who were like insane. They were like the curtain, like Azrael, who is still awesome now, is like friggin' Ricky Reyes, guys like that. They were like, oh, they're the curtain jerker guys.
Doug
like,
Williams, the greatest British wrestler of his time. We'll put him in the mid card.
Yeah,
you know.
So that era, like everyone did something insane, and I loved it.
Yeah,
that's really my inspiration. Like that got me back into wrestling when I was completely out.
That's awesome. What about you, Rad Boy? What do you got?
Oh boy, well, it's very similar with him because I lived in Las Vegas for 16 years. So most of my life, I lived in a city that had zero wrestling.
Right.
Their athletic commission was so ridiculous. I think you had to pay like $5,000 to run a show.
Yeah.
Just to start.
That sounds about right with Las Vegas, I'd assume.
Yeah, and that changed like by the time I got older. But like when I was a kid, wrestling was just a thing on the TV. So there was absolutely no way I ever thought I was going to be a wrestler. I never, even built towards that. I wasn't like working out or doing amateur wrestling in high school or anything. Like that was such a far away dream. it might as well not even been a dream kind of thing.
Okay.
But obviously, I love professional wrestling. I followed it. I was way more of a WCW kid. I was on the losing end of the war. But
Of every war.
Well, let me tell you, I love Sega Genesis. I love WCW. I was a Digimon guy over Pokemon. Like
he liked RC Cola.
RC Cola. Like I was the losing side of everything, man. Don't make fun of the Royal Crown.
Oh,
right?
dude. It's funny. Before you continue, I was a WCW guy too, and I was also a Sega guy. Oh, I see it.
Represent.
Also a Sonic the Hedgehog Sega guy over Mario any day of the week. But I will say, I'm not with you on the RC Cola front. Like any stretch of the imagination. Continue though.
No, that's all right. Now I'm more of Dr. Pepper. Pib Extra. If you ever see Pib Extra out there, that's the king to me. But that's not always around, so I don't count that. But shut up over there. So but yeah, so for me it was like Ring of Honor didn't air anywhere. Like I got DVDs. So I had like the Best of Samoa Joe Volume 2, and I had to figure out why the heck he's the champion, how that happened, and like what any of the angles were anyway.
Oh, Impact, man. That was actually, I found out about ROH by watching TNA, because they had guys like Joe and Daniels and Styles, and they were wrestling. My friend was like, "Oh, remember those guys? They're wrestling in Edison in New Jersey," and I ended up going to a show with one of my high school friends, and it was insane. It was a 4th anniversary show. Was absolutely bonkers. CZW invaded. Next show I went to, there was a goddamn chair riot. It was fucking out of control.
I've seen that show. It's awesome. So I'll tell you how I discovered TNA, because it was a week, maybe 2 weeks before Impact debuted. So I'm flipping through the channels. There is no other wrestling. The only wrestling I ever saw other than WWF was NWA Wildside would air once in a while.
Okay.
And that's the company that AJ Styles started at
in Georgia.
So, I mean, he did some WCW, but that was like his home promotion.
Yeah.
So when I saw TNA, I went, oh, it's that NWA Wildside guy. Good to see he's still working out there. But so I'm flipping through the channels, and I'm at high numbers, man. I'm at numbers where I'm just trying to figure out what the hell's even on.
Right.
And as I pass by, I just randomly see Mike Tenay's face, and I continue on. I'm like, what? Whoa, hold on. Are they replaying Thunder or something? So I go back, and it's Mike Tenay's talking about the next episode of their pay-per-view. It's like the last episode of their pay-per-view, and how Impact is starting in like 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, blah, 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 blah. And in 3 weeks, this happens, whatever. Now we're on to our Explosion main event. And the main event was the most random, ridiculously, like, I couldn't come up with this if I wanted. And I would love, I'd love for you to guess. All right? Okay?
All right, so wait.
I'll give you 2 hints.
Okay.
You have 1 for each guy, okay? 2000 WCW, ECW legend, in the 6-sided ring. Just throw 2 names at me.
Shane Douglas and Hugh Morris. I don't know.
Fun fact, that did happen on like one of their last pay-per-views. But
not know that, but continue.
Yeah,
I'll look that up.
Yeah, WCW is like, I think it's their last WCW pay-per-view. Shane Douglas beat Hugh Morris for the U.S.
Greed?
title. Yeah, Greed. Or Super Brawl, whatever, one of those 2.
Okay.
Anyway, so it was, and their names rhymed, it's Sabu versus Lash LaRue.
Oh,
your Explosion main event. Don't you want to watch our show? Hey, R-Truth's our champion. And I'm like, okay, quick, is the NWA World Champion? By the way, why is the NWA World Champion on this TNA company? I need to watch this. This is ridiculous. Yeah, there's no going back after that. I was like, Kid Cash is the tag team champion? What?
Oh, is that when Kid Cash was doing his program with the man from the shadows who turned out to be Abyss?
It was Kid Cash and Lance Archer.
Oh, because I was actually watching random Impact recently on Pluto TV, because they just have a channel that's just Impact.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Kid Cash is just talking to a man in the shadows, and he's like, he doesn't even have a name yet. And he's like, I'm going to call you Abyss because you live in the Abyss. And I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
That's how Abyss got his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so bad. Like,
Yeah, it's terrible.
So fucking bad.
He got his name from Kid Cash.
They just walk out wearing blue denim every week because, I don't know, Abyss?
Wow, dude. I did not know that. That's really fucking funny. All right, well, listen. I got one last question for you guys. We're going to wrap this up. I ask everybody at the end of every episode, so I'm going to ask you both. We'll start with you, Mr. Papa Bear, but you're both getting the same question. Just shoot your shot moment. If you could wrestle any tag team or singles competitor on the independents right now, who would it be?
Oh, God.
Yep, got the same response every time. I love this.
I mean, I'll throw a tag team out if you need a second.
No, I mean, I'd have to go with the team who, in my opinion, is the team right now.
We can't wrestle ourselves.
And that would be EYFBO or LAX or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Especially because they also have Yard Roots.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
They wrestled in the park in New York City in 2KW, which also posted on the forum we were on. So it'd be a full circle moment.
You know, and it's funny because you will definitely get your indie moments wholeheartedly out of that, and you will definitely you'll live your dream, man. Like that'll be it. You'll get pile drive by both of them, everything.
Plus, they do some comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Like we could definitely do some silly chancla stuff, and like they would definitely like
fucking chancla.
Yeah, like we could definitely do some fun stuff. They also like I also wear khakis. You know what I mean? It's like a perfect matchup. That would be mine.
Yes.
Oh my God! Hey, real quick, if I can give you an idea, if you ever do get to wrestle LAX, see if they wouldn't be offended if you go out as the Step Poppies and you dress up like them. I'm not joking. I think it would actually work. Just throwing it out there. Okay.
For me, tag team, I would have to be selfish. This would be a tag team I would want to wrestle. But I think it would also be a really good match.
Oh, I know who it is.
Yeah, of course. My favorite tag team of all time still wrestles to this day. NWA Roots. I watched them when I was a kid. The Rock and Roll Express.
Oh, yeah.
I think also we would be less silly, but we could be very mean stepdads, and we could get that heat. And Ricky Morton would be selling to that crowd and get them in. And then their comeback on us, we'll bump like maniacs all over that ring. And let me tell you, I love taking Canadian Destroyers. I'll take one like nobody's business. Ricky Morton wants to give me a Canadian Destroyer. I'll take 5 in a row. You can pin my ass. I'll do whatever it takes, you know?
That's actually, you know what? I think that would actually be a really good match. Now that you say that, and I'm like looking at the dynamic, I think that would actually work really fucking well.
We could just be ridiculous heels in the ring.
Also,
beloved.
But it's funny. My dream matches mostly involve us having a third. It's like my dream trios is like Orange Cassidy, 100%. Love Orange Cassidy. Have loved Orange Cassidy for forever.
Apparently loves us too.
Yeah, we met him and he was like.
So
we met him in the backstage at a show.
We're about to go out.
Yeah, we're literally walking to the ring.
Yeah, we have our belts on. We're going out for a tables
He's
match.
just in the back going over spots, like walking back and forth, pacing a little bit. And we're like walking down the hallway to the ring, and he looks up and he's like, "You guys are Stepdads, right?" And we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "You guys are fucking funny." And just walks away.
and we're like, I guess we'll go have our match now.
Yeah.
All right.
Then we proceeded to have a tables match.
Yeah, then we had tables match.
Yeah.
Which ended with me. Well, I hit the driver off the apron through a table.
Okay, that's a move.
Yeah. So he would be one that I'd love to. Buff Bagwell.
Fucking same. I've been saying it for years. I want to wrestle Buff Bagwell so badly.
I almost tagged with him once.
Oh.
Because there was supposed to be a show that Rad couldn't make it to, and the idea was I was going to tag with Buff Bagwell, and we were going to be the Buff Daddies.
Oh, that'd be so good.
I'm such a Buff Bagwell mark.
Yeah,
it's not even funny.
Dude, so am I. And here's the funny thing. It's because I was a WCW guy, too. And I was a big fan of the Misfits in Action and Buff Bagwell. And, like, Buff, I don't know what it was about him, but he really was the fucking stuff to me. So, like, I was always so into him.
Charisma, man, was so much. It was there. He was a guy who hid his flaws with his charisma.
It was the hat and the blockbuster. If I could get hit with a Buff blockbuster and lose, I will be the happiest man in the world.
If I just got to do the knee drop pose across the ring, where he would drop to the dude, oh man, that would be the highlight of my day.
I'll take his Canadian Destroyer too. Bring it on.
Oh man,
Like, look, Hurricane, for any version of 3 Count, I'd love to wrestle.
Yes.
God, dude. Yeah, actually, Hurricane was one I'm not going to name the promotion, but had a promoter ask me, he's like, hey, who would you want to work that's a kind of bigger name? Because we want to start pushing you a little more. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I came up with a list. I gave him Jerry the King Lawler. I gave him David Arquette. I gave him stuff like, to go along with the King gimmick. And I'm like, but listen, I'm like, can you get the Hurricane? And he's like, I think you might be signed to Ring of Honor like full time right now. He's like, but if I can, I will. I'm like, so I'm like over here, like pretty much waiting to find out.
The coolest dude ever.
And like, I was just, oh man, I want to get horror slammed so bad. Like,
dude, he was like the last like memory I have of WWF, like really enjoying something.
Yeah.
Before I stopped watching for a while. But yeah, dude, I love the Hurricane. Such a nice dude too. We met him at a show and he was incredibly nice. Ended up talking about comics for like 15 minutes.
Genuine guy.
That's awesome. I like to hear that. It's really like, he's never going to watch my fucking podcast anyway, so I'm just going to say it. But like a guy who I really enjoyed, who unfortunately did not live up to the reputation just because of, I guess, how he was in the locker room. It could have been a bad day. I don't know. But like, he was just very not welcoming, was Sandman. And I was really upset about that because I loved Sandman. Like, growing up, I'm like, this guy, he comes out to fucking Metallica and has a kendo stick and smashes beer off his head. Who doesn't want to be that guy when they grow up? And like, and then I met him. I'm like, hey, how you doing? He shook my hand. He was obviously respectful, but like, he was just very, very like, he came in like 5 minutes before his spot and then left immediately. I'm like,
we've only ever gotten to work one name in a match.
Who was it?
And it was Hornswoggle.
That's amazing. Like,
and he was awesome.
Yeah.
And the match was so much fun. And I will say this because this is a good story to end on. Hornswoggle is I would call him the fuck around champion of like when he's on the apron during a match. So yeah, multiple stories of this match.
So we're all
he'll do one, I'll do one.
We're all next to the curtain. Music hits for the heels. Heels go out.
Right.
Now it's gonna be it's a triple threat tag. So it's heels, us, and then Hornswoggle's team. So heels go out, big boos. Our music hits, way huger pop than we expected. And so we get this eruption, and I look down at him.
He hears the Full House theme.
He hears the Full House theme. He goes, son of a bitch, I'm going to have to try now. and boy, did he try. We went out and got our pop. His music hit. He went into the crowd. He took somebody's cane and attacked the heels with it. Like he made sure he got the bigger pop.
The entire time he was on the apron, he was just fucking around with everyone in the match too.
Oh yeah,
like
taking everyone's gear and water and stuff.
Taking their stuff. Guy started working the leg, and he's like, "You're working the wrong leg," and made the guy question himself like mid match.
Oh my God.
I got kicked.
We both got big booted at one point during the match, and we're laying there, and we just look over. He's like, "You kicked in the fucking face," and he's like pointing and laughing in our face as we're rolling out of the ring. The dude is the best. So much fun.
Fucking awesome. That's a good one. You know what? There's one that I guess we're still talking. I'm going to talk anyway. But I think my favorite, just memorable match when it comes to names. I've worked a few, but I think my favorite has to be Santino. Being able to get cobra'd by Santino was probably the highlight of my career, truth be told.
Oh God, I would backflip bump that shit.
Dude, so it's funny because it's me and Richard Holiday with Squire versus Matt Striker and Santino. And it was a super cool match. So we get there, we're all chill. I've met Striker before. I obviously know Holiday pretty well, but I've never met Santino. Wicked nice guy. We're calling the match. Have you guys met Matt Striker before by chance?
No,
we have not.
Well, let me just put it this way. Matt Striker is the guy who he absolutely loves wrestling. He's a fucking genius, I'll say that. But some of the spots he calls feels like he's almost given up. And I mean that in a good way. He pretty much decides to go into his bag. He's like, hey, guys, so I knew we had this match. I've wrestled you before because he's wrestled me. He wrestled Holiday. So he's like, I know what we can do. He pulls out lucha masks. I'm like, what are those for? He's like, I think mid-match, me and Santino could put these on from under the ring, and then we can give you some, Mexican arm drags and this and that and start, I'm like, okay. He's like, and we can do a whole thing where we just do musical chairs. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So we did this whole match, phenomenal. You know, we're cowering from the Cobra the whole time. Me and Holiday are falling into the corners, trying to prep each other up, like pump each other up to go back in, just to get chased back off. We have freaking Stryker and Santino in lucha masks and doing freaking little dances around the ring. We play musical chairs in which I fall on my ass. Squire gets in and fucking hits me with water. Like, just, dude, so much happened, and it was probably the most fun I've ever had in a wrestling ring in my life.
I love that kind of match because he will have 1,000 more matches before he retires. He'll never have a match like that ever again. And that's so awesome about doing that kind of stuff in the wrestling.
It's funny. We haven't been on many shows with like legends on them because we mostly been on the smaller shows. But anytime we're on with, I feel like we always make a good impression.
Yeah,
we always get a funny random comment from someone like Gilbert. Gilbert put us over in the back.
We lost our match. He comes out and he's like, "Oh, you know how us losers are, you know," and we're just bullshitting with him for like an hour.
Oh my God. I was on a show with him in Pennsylvania, and he was actually, dude, it was him, Teddy Long, and Melina and Disco in the same show. And,
oh my God,
man.
That was, I had a 5-on-5 tag match with Disco and Melina on the other side. But when we got back, I'm talking to Gilbert. He's like, hey, did you wrestle Glenn tonight? I'm like, yeah, he gave me a chart buster, all that stuff like that. He's like, that sucks. And just fucking walked away. I'm like, we were just shooting the shit.
We lost. We get to the back, and he looks at us. He's like, "Should have kicked out, you bitch."
Yeah, and I'm like, he's a shit talker, but literally like we shot the shit. Just a nice dude. But,
he's so fun.
He's had to have been the most approachable name we've ever met because he was just chilling with us. It didn't feel like he was any bigger than us.
Exactly.
He was just having a good time.
Unlike Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
Ted DiBiase gave a sermon at the end of the show.
To be fair, he was there to give a sermon, not to be a part of the wrestling show.
It was a fundraiser for a church.
Yeah.
But he, at the end of the show was running along, and they literally were like, "You guys have to cut the main event because we need to get this sermon."
Yeah. So I accidentally main evented their biggest show that year.
Oh, man.
I get to the back, they're like, "Well, you just wrestled the main event." And then he went out and he talked for over 45 minutes.
Oh, no.
It was horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad. I mean, I think my only real, not really horror story, but I think the worst interaction I've truthfully had was probably Greg Valentine. And that was recent.
He just seems miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It sucked because, like, I got there. It was a match. It was me and, I don't know if you know him or not, Anthony Katina. We were in a tag match against Tommy and Just Incredible. And it was like a little ECW thing they were doing. But Greg the Hammer Valentine and D'Lo Brown were there. D'Lo Brown came up, said hello to everybody. Super nice fucking guy.
Yeah.
Everyone, Tommy, Dreamer, fucking incredible, super nice guys. And then Greg the Hammer Valentine pops up, and it's like, hey, nice to meet you. He's like, gave me a quick little like one of these, and it was just like, just like walked off. I'm like, okay, I guess that's it. And he's over there like freaking down in meatballs on catering, and I'm like, well, that's fair, I guess. But
okay, I have legitimately one more because it's funny because we mentioned them before. Rock and Roll Express story.
Oh boy.
Why you gotta ruin my life?
We're on a show with Rock and Roll Express.
Okay.
And they had just gotten their Hall of Fame rings.
It was actually a cool angle. They were defending their Hall of Fame rings against
like that.
big
That's
heel.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the heels were like, "Oh, we're gonna win the match and take your rings." So they're in the back, and instead of handshaking everybody, they're fist bumping everybody to show off their rings.
Yeah.
And it's his favorite team ever. So it's his first chance to meet them. And he goes up to fucking, it was Ricky, right?
Listen,
What happened? No. What happened?
Listen, there were a lot of names there that night. Like Tommy Dreamer came up, and I was like, hey, Tommy Dreamer, nice to meet you. I gotta go see the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, Tommy Dreamer also came out of introduced. He's like, "Hey, I'm Tom," and I'm like, "Yes,
yeah,
we're aware."
Yep.
We know.
Good to see you, Tom. I hope you're doing well, Tom. So you
goes up to shit.
It was Ricky Morton. I went up to Ricky Morton, and it was like a line. So I'm like talking to people. I'm not paying attention to the line.
Puts his hand out for the fist bump, and Rad fucking puts his hand out and fucking stick shifts his hand. Because he went for the handshake and and just grabbed his hand.
Oh, dude, do I really hope there's a redemption arc for you at some
To
point?
watch him die inside. I had to walk away. I was dying.
My body left my soul. Luckily,
Ricky
Morton's such a nice guy.
just kept his hand out
there. He just kept his hand out. I was like, just kind of like raised his eyes a little bit, and I went, "Oh, sorry." And I showed him. He's like, "All right." Went back to his life while my life was ruined forever. And since they were the main event, I was over at my merch table just watching their match, like this, just writing my will because my life was over.
Yeah, and I was just making fun of him with Dasher Hatfield the rest of the time.
Yeah, just Dasher Hatfield on one side, him on the other.
Oh my God. Well, dude, listen, guys, I really appreciate the time. The last fucking 30 minutes of the story, that was fun. And
that story had to end it. Once I thought about it, I was like, okay.
I really hope you really do get a redemption arc at some point for that, because man.
I hope they meet in the middle of the ring and Ricky puts his hand out and Rad puts his hand out and then Ricky just Canadian destroyers him.
That's the whole match.
Oh my God. Well, yeah.
That's the opening.
Look, thank you again for coming on here. I really do appreciate you guys. Always a pleasure whenever I get a chance to talk and see you legit since I've known you. I just hope that once this is all said and done, you guys actually have a chance to show off what the fuck you can do, because you guys definitely have a bright future, and I hope
appreciate that.
Thank you, man. We love you to death. Thank you so much.
No, not a problem. And everybody else that's watching, I was Stephen Baker. Those were the Stepdads, and stay positive.